Welcome in. Welcome to the first pre-recorded show of the U.S. National Parks and the Cantrell Country Travelway show. Welcome in my co-host and one of my partner channel, Richard Blumenchiza. My other co-host, Mike, and executive producer. Well, guys, welcome to the first pre-recorded show.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to doing this. I know a lot of people are interested in looking at this. For anybody that loves nature, I know a lot of us have our love for Disney, and some of us have love for traveling, particularly the cruise lines. We won't mention the guy. We won't mention the guy below.
Or nature.
On the BCLs.
I like nature too. Come on.
No, but I do. I do love my cruise lines too, as well.
Yeah.
But I do love You know what? There's something about just traveling around the country as itself, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much. I don't know how much you actually. Have you ever just taken time to drive around, Richard? I mean, times, there's sometimes about driving. Yeah, it can take a little bit longer to get to the places that you want to go, but it's just the experience and the fun and part of the overall experience you get when you're traveling like that, especially when you're going to the national parks like this.
Yep.
So, I mean, to gain it is the best, particularly going to the national parks. Most of the time, you're going to have to drive into the parks.
Yes.
All the time. So, that driving.
There's a few that have trains that go through them, but yes.
Yes. But, for the most part, you're going to have to end up going through there. And we'll get into this later down the road as we get into some of the parks. But, some of these parks, just like Disney, you're going to have long waits to get into them.
Yes.
Some parks you can have 3-hour traffic things. So today we're just going to talk. We're going to do an overall national park service. Talk about it. Maybe share some of. Maybe you got. I know I've got experiences I can share from some of the national parks. Richard, you probably do. Maybe Mike does.
Yes.
But, one of the most governmental. We know what the governmental, which comes out of the Interior Department of Interior.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just a branch of the Department of Interior, which is the NPS for the National Park System.
It did not start out that way, though.
No, it was called something else.
It was under the Secretary of Interior. So,
now they call it the Department of Interior.
Yeah, Department of Interior, Secretary of Interior. Yeah. Yep.
Which is still the same thing. They just took out the word secretary.
Yes, it was just a different term that people liked more. You have to remember when this started. This was 1872, if I remember correctly.
No, actually, are you talking about the Department of Interior?
No, the first national park.
No. First national park, which we'll give you a little bit of history, was not actually created until August 25th, 1916 by President Woodrow Wilson when he signed the Organic Act creating the National Park Service.
There was already a park before that.
But there was no national parks.
No, there was no national park, but there was already a park under the Secretary of Interior, which was Yellowstone National Park.
It was a park, but it wasn't a national park. Honestly, to me, I even know, and I agree with you. Yellowstone is the oldest of all the parks.
Yes,
but honestly, to me, when that Organic Act was created, that actually to me is when the national park system was created. officially.
Yeah.
But Richard said Yellowstone was there long before even the park system.
Way long before.
Way long before. Yeah.
I believe it was just, yes, that's probably what started it. But you know what? The Yellowstone is what got the fad going. It made it popular to have a national park.
It was. It actually had
was eye-opening for the U.S.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing about it. If you read the history about Woodrow Wilson, he visited the Yellow National Stone. It had an influence on to save the heritage of the country, and that's why he signed the act, the Organic Act in 1916.
And then we can also, you were talking a little bit beforehand about how it's hard to get into the park sometimes. Yellowstone was famous at the very beginning, late 1800s, early 1900s, for being hard to get into, because obviously it was one of the only ones, or the only one. There was lines for 2 to 3 hours estimated just to try to get into the park.
And that wasn't even when vehicles weren't even around.
You're right.
That was Model T's trying to get in there.
Yep.
Model T's weren't even around in 1892.
As well as with some buggies.
No, Model T's didn't come out until after 1900.
That's right. No, it was 1897, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It might have been. It could have been just before the turn of the century, but it was long before National Yellowstone Park. It was
the same time.
It came out long after National Yellowstone Park was around.
Yeah.
But long before, it actually had the influence on Woodrow Wilson, and so then he created the Federal Bureau, Department of it, which actually created the NPS, which then fell under the Bureau of Department of the Interior. And of course, they are responsible for maintaining the NPS and all the parks that it manages.
Right.
Which is quite amazing considering that. And here's what I find interesting. Now, they cover 429 units referred to. Plus, there's another 150 that are related areas. And then, of course, numerous programs that assist in conserving the nation's natural and cultural heritage for the benefit of, future generations and cultures. Which is quite amazing and astonishing considering what we got. And at one time, do you remember a few years ago, we almost lost the National Park Service?
Yes.
Because it was almost going bankrupt. And it was at the time when the government came very close to shutting down.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, that and then the National Park Service was very much financially in very bankrupt systems. So I'm kind of glad that they got everything worked out and it is, because we have, I hate to say it, and this is just my opinion. I understand that if I go to other countries, I'm sure there's beautiful parks. But to me, from what I know and what I understand, to me, the U.S. has some of the most beautiful parks in the world.
Yes.
Now,
I'm not saying there's not others that can't outdo it. I'm just saying
there is something
we do have parks that are right off the cream of the crop.
Really, the U.S. has the most diverse, also different kinds of parks too.
Yes,
correct.
In the whole world.
Absolutely.
If anyone was wondering, Yellowstone was the first park in the whole world, not just the U.S.
Good Old Faithful. Old Faithful.
That was the first one in the world.
Then you go to Yosemite that has the old geysers. The geysers out of it.
And now there's thousands.
I think the geysers at
Yosemite.
Now there's thousands.
And it has some of that orange. And it's actually got some of those are turning orange, which is kind of unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there's nuts that try to get into that stuff. And, well, they kind of get burned. on it, legitimately.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, and it covers more than 85 million, which is crazy because the parks actually cover 85 million acres in all of 50 states, including the District of Columbia and the U.S. territories.
Yep.
Obviously, there's 19 naming designations that we refer to as parks. And of course, then there's multiple parks managed by the administrative unit within the national and NPS. And kind of break you down. Here's a breakdown of exactly what they got. You've got 11 national battlefields, 4 national battlefield parks, national battlefield sites is 1, national military parks 9, national historical park 63, national historical sites 75, international historical sites 1, national lake shores 3, national memorials 31, national monuments 84, national parks 63, national parkways 4. Now, what people got to understand about the parkway, anybody that's gone through like Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, the parkways would be like the Ridge Mountains. It's called like a Blue Way Parkway. Right. And it's the roads going through the mountains, but they're still considered kind of national parks, but they're more of a transition park. You know, they've got modern roads that go through them.
Yep.
So they're parkways. And of course, then you got National Preserve 19, National Reserves 2, National Recreation Areas 18, National Rivers, National Wild and Scenic Rivers 10, National Scenic Trails 6, National Seashores 10, and then of course other designation, and then we'll get into the related ones in a little bit here. What do y'all think? That's quite a bit of parks for.
That's a lot.
A lot of topics in the national park system for different areas.
Yes. Also, it also counts a lot of like the historical buildings in a lot of cities are counted as part of it.
Yeah. A lot of that would be fall under the national, one of the national one back up here. It would go like the national historical sites, international. I mean, like some of the buildings in Gettysburg, buildings in Gettysburg, those would actually fall under historical sites, but the battlefield site, it's amazing that some of those actually could fall under 2 or 3 of these categories. Because I mean, think about it.
Yes.
You got you look at the battlefield, that would fall under the battlefield sites. But it's a national battlefield park. Oh, the whole you look at Cemetery Ridge all the way up to Copeland's Gap. That is the whole battlefield park.
Right.
Which covers a lot of acreage in Gettysburg. But then you break it down, then you've got historical buildings that are still in Gettysburg that were actually used by the Confederates when they controlled Gettysburg. I know. I watch enough Ghost.
There's at least hundreds in almost every big city of national monuments. I guess
there are. Because I know
national memorials.
I know New York has thousands.
New York City has a lot of them in many different places.
Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island. Those all fall under historical sites and national monuments.
Yes.
Think about it. The Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial. Those are all national sites.
Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the FDR Memorial. I mean,
your wall of military, the wall of the military, that would fall under national military parks.
Yep. Battery Park, which does have part of that wall.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I don't know where the 9/11 memorial falls under.
Well,
that would be a memorial. That would probably be a national memorial.
But it's a newer one at least. But
it is. But if I'm going to say this, Dave, if you want me to go over there, I can.
Because I can tell you, Gumberland Gap, that would actually fall under 2 or 3 of these because it's a national wild and scenic area as well as a national scenic trail. Plus the fact you got the river, particularly because that is where part of that trail covers where Daniel Boone went when he went left Virginia and went on through Kentucky into Tennessee.
Yes.
By the way, it's the same for Lewis and Clark when they did their first expedition.
Yes. Correct.
Is a whole park.
And that covers up. Now you're talking Montana, North and South Dakota.
Many states are counted as one.
You're talking Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana,
part of the river,
Minnesota,
Wisconsin. Because I know for New Jersey, we have the Washington's Crossing in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And what's interesting is that where the Delaware River is, now usually what they do this is they will recreate the actual thing coming, with the
reenactment.
Yes.
That's a good word for it.
That.
Reenactment. Reenactors.
Yes.
Yeah, but most of your big battlefield sites, they tend to do those reenactments. Think about it.
I got to see one, and that was at the Alamo. I got to see the one at Alamo, so that was cool. They were doing a reenactment when I was there.
Even at the Castillo de San Marco, they'll fire off the cannons and they'll fire off the weapons of that century.
I remember when I was.
You're talking Spanish stuff, not English.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when I was in 8th grade, my 8th grade trip, I actually went to Fort McHenry. Okay. It was really nice. I enjoyed it very much so.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting place where our national anthem was born.
Yeah. Also, you have to think about it, Mike. Isn't Philadelphia?
Oh yes, Philadelphia.
So Liberty Bell.
The Liberty Bell. Independence Hall. Betsy Ross's house. Ben Franklin's house.
But Liberty Bell is on
I've been to all those places.
Yeah, but Liberty Bell is on a national park officially.
Yes.
That building.
With Philadelphia, you basically have the same buildings that were there in 1776.
Yep.
And they have been preserved to stay the same way they've been ever since they were built in Philadelphia. Now,
the old capital.
Near Philadelphia, I've been there many times.
Yep.
And I will say that it is an amazing place to be.
They basically turned it into a museum, but I like that, but still.
They did.
It's fine.
And
I'll accept that.
You can also go to the Mint, where you can see where all of our coins are made. Now, with a fun fact about that, if you if you look on a quarter, you will see two little letters, the letter P and the letter D. But the P stands for the Philadelphia because that's where it was minted. The letter D stands for Denver, and that's where it was minted. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting, and they're always open. I mean, last time I went to Independence Hall and all that stuff was 2008, and that was a fun day. It was a hot day, but boy, I had so much fun.
Once you got inside that building, at least it was air conditioned.
Oh yes, and Betsy Ross's house is really fun to see. I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, I like that museum, like the Liberty Bell and all, and then all that, and
now
walking around those gardens that they have there
now
too.
You can't, unfortunately.
The outside gardens that they had there were fantastic to walk around too.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing.
Yeah.
While you guys were yapping, I was just sitting. It
Mm-hmm.
actually lists.
We just can talk for
I mean,
hours about it.
here's some of
We
the
could.
list of the National Historical Parks.
And look at New
Abraham
York
Lincoln
City.
Birthplace
I mean,
National
you've got
Historical
places
Park.
everywhere.
Kentucky, Adams National Historical Park, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The one that I told you that's near Liberty University,
Mm-hmm.
Appomattox Courthouse, National Historical Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blackstone River. Brown versus the Board of Education, National Education
Yes.
National Park. I mean,
Yes.
and it goes on and on. You got Fort
I mean,
Sumter,
even if you go up to Boston,
Aviation.
there's a lot of stuff there as well.
There's the
Like
Boston National
the
Historical
and all
Park.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see.
It says it, Boston National
Mhm.
Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are just the national parks. These are not the historical parks.
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
they are the historical parks, but they're not they're not necessarily national battlefield sites and that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Up and see now you were talking about parks. Here you go. The Klondike Gold Rush Park up in Alaska and Washington.
I've been there.
Has both you.
I've been there.
I haven't.
I'd love to go to.
Yeah.
One of these days, that is one of my, it's on my to-do list.
Mm. Let me ask you this question, Richard. Now, in the Washington State, are there any national forests there?
Yes. We have a rainforest up here.
Protected by the Park Service.
Oh yeah, Olympic National Forest or Olympic National Rainforest to be exact.
Nice.
Yes, it's right here.
Yeah.
And you also got the North Cascades.
Yeah,
National
you got
Park
the
as well.
Cascades also. That's not a rainforest. This it'll be a forest, but it's still
Well, it ain't a rainforest.
Cascade
But,
National
I mean,
Forest.
you
Yeah,
know,
National Park.
you're talking about national parks. That is,
National Park. Yeah.
Not North Cascades is a national park there. So
yeah, but there is some cities that are counted inside of that park, though, too.
Interesting.
Well, some do. Some do.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The Genoa Park. It's a national park up in Alaska. It's got small cities within its boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Some of them aren't necessarily active. Some are dead towns. Some are small cities or small towns. But it's amazing how some parks do actually have.
Yep.
I mean, it's really interesting because you never know where, I mean, with for New York City, I mean, there is just so many.
There is.
In so many different ways. I mean, you have the Ellis Island, you have another Statue of Liberty, you have the Tenement Museum up there.
You just talk about the museums also, just in New York itself.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! You want to talk about museums?
Because I almost went to a museum every day, and I still didn't hit them all.
You did. You got the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yep.
You even have Central Park. Now, here's my question: how come Central Park is not regulated by the U.S. Park Service? Because it's huge.
Because it's a city park officially.
Yes, I was going to say because even
I was wondering that.
Well, think about it. You got Fort Mackinac. Even though it is a park and it has a fort and it was used by the national government during the time of, during the Revolution and all that, that actually, because of it being on the outer island of the Upper Peninsula, and the only way to get to it is by ferry. That's not even a national park. It's a state park.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Park. Which,
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
We do have state parks in New Jersey as well.
And that's what I'm saying. These are just the national park. If we really wanted to dig into parks, you'd have to look at every state because states
Absolutely.
every state has so many state parks. It's beyond belief. Now, like the Everglades, obviously the Everglades is a national park for the MPS.
Yes.
The Okeechobee that's on the just north of the Florida state line, on the south end of Georgia, that's a national park.
Yeah. Right. What about the volcanoes in the Hawaii?
Yes.
Is that considered a national park or would that be a state park?
Probably state.
You remember what those parks are called?
I don't think Hawaii. That's the one state I think that Hawaii is one of the states that does not have a national park. I don't think.
Interesting, because you would think with
you
the
have to look at it, Dave, but I don't think they do.
I'm looking at what I am looking at is some of the authorized parks that are cared for, managed, or operated by that falls under the related areas.
Yes.
National heritage areas. Because you would think that would.
Yes.
You think it would
be. Hawaii does have one. Pearl Harbor.
They do. Okay.
Pearl Harbor.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
I had to think on that one. I'm like,
I know, because I was like,
I think it's only on one island.
Yeah, but I will say that one, is, and when my
believe it or not, though, it's not listed under national military park.
They actually
it might not be. That could be counted as that as a state park. Because you know what? How easy is it for people for the national to go over to Hawaii? It's hard. They can go to the ones that are in the 50 states.
Correct.
But not Hawaii, probably not Alaska that much. But there's people posted in Alaska is why they can do the Alaska.
Right.
You can't really do that for Hawaii, make someone stay in Hawaii to be a national park holder. I guess
you could, but
it'd be hard, and I think it's because of Japan and how influential Japan was to Hawaii before it happened.
You're right.
They just want to keep it a state, and I don't blame them.
I don't blame them either because if they were to make it national, I think that would be some rift between the two.
Be careful of this too. Because some of it is it called it's some of it, if it's like a national heritage, it does fall under the NPS, but it falls under, there's a lot of parks that actually don't fall under the specific main categories. That might fall under the related, which means the NPS controls it, but it's managed or operated by some type of management. And it may be, and I would assume it's probably through the states.
Yeah, and that could be Hawaii if it is. If it's like
correct. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to see if I can find it under any of the related ones, and I haven't seen anything for Hawaii under even the related ones.
I don't know if you can just look up Pearl Harbor.
You could.
I don't know.
You could.
Not even Hawaii. Just look up Pearl Harbor. That'll get a ping maybe.
I'll look it up. Hold on. Let me look it up.
I've got the national park up. I'll beat you to it.
I know most of it is water because that's when they attacked the ships that were in port.
Right.
I know that's one of the only places that has a park that's underwater. Because they have submarines that go down to the ships.
Now, maybe they just don't have it listed because it is
or it's
recommended by the U.S. National Park Service, and it does say Pearl Harbor National Memorial.
There it is, National Memorial.
Yes.
Let me go back and check. I don't think I looked under the National Memorial things.
I guess it is Memorial. So, I
know when I looked it up. I know that.
There you go. 31. There you go.
Okay, you
because
found
there's
it?
DeSoto National Memorial. DeSoto National Memorial is the one that we were talking about the other day, Mike. That's off of Clearwater and Tampa Bay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
This just shows you how much we could really just talk about in these shows. It's going to be entertaining to see what we
there
think
you
of.
go. Pearl Harbor's listed under the National Memorial Park, so it is
there
listed.
You go. Okay. That's why.
But that's the only one that I've actually seen. That's the only one that's listed.
That's the one you can look up.
Now,
I
let me
guess.
ask you this, Richard. Where all the other ones are those state parks where like all the volcano activity things are those state parks?
That probably, yeah.
Are you aware?
They allow people to walk up there, but they regulate it to how active they are.
Mm-hmm.
That way, that means people
parks,
that are.
So I'm assuming a lot of those are probably state parks on Hawaii.
Probably, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll find people up there that are like volcanoists that just basically talk about the line of volcanoes up there.
You see, even like Mount Rushmore, that's under national monuments.
Yeah.
Of course,
obviously, the problem is if they
obviously the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Washington Monument,
those are all in DC.
And that's all DC. That's all DC.
Smithsonian.
Yes, I love the Smithsonian.
Yeah, but that's a museum.
It's been around for that was one of the U.S.'s first museums, if I remember correctly.
Museum does not. That is actually a museum. It's not controlled by the National Park Service.
It isn't, but it's an old building.
It is. It may be an old building, but it's still not controlled by the National Park Service.
Yeah, it's not. I know the one in D.C. is right across from Lincoln Memorial.
Think of it. That would
the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, as well as the FDR Memorial.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's all there.
FDR is my favorite one.
Yeah, I mean Lincoln Memorial's on here.
And FDR should be on there as well.
They even have the Fort Caroline National Memorial for Florida. Where the hell is that at? They must have shut that down because it's out of blue.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe they're under construction. They're not allowing people in.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I think now that I read it, I read somewhere, I think it's going through a refurbishment or rebuilding.
Because I know for New Jersey and Pennsylvania, as well as New York City, there's a lot. And I actually would like to go to Statue of Liberty as well as Ellis Island one of these days.
Yeah.
I will tell you. Hey, Mike, I will tell you your trail, your Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine is listed on here.
I know. When New Jersey is listed. I know.
Now, if anyone does want to have, if you have Disney Plus, we love Disney Plus, kind of.
We do.
A little plug for that. At Disney Plus, they have 2 shows that devote just to the national parks.
Yes.
They do all under the National Geographic.
National Geographic, American National Parks.
And I will tell you, I love watching that.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend
they also have the classic one too from way back when. So they have 2 different shows, 2 different seasons.
Nice.
They talk about many different things: Olympic, Yosemite, Everglades, Yellowstone,
right?
Grand Canyon, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, just seeing what different wildlife, what kind of lifestyle that those animals would have in those parks is kind of neat too.
Yes. And speaking of parks, we'll be back 2 and 2, guys. I'm going to run this real quick. This is the Cantrell Country Travelway. I'm the agent and owner, David Cantrell. If you're looking to travel through the U.S. national parks or maybe to the waterways from beaches to ocean cruises, let the Cantrell Country Travelway help you find your magical vacation. Anyway, so if you are looking to travel, just contact me. The links will be in the description box. We will also, I'll be in chat when this video premieres to put the links in there as well. So contact me and let me help you find that magical vacation. I don't know about you guys, but there's just looking at the list and what we've talked about there. So it just makes me want to hop in an RV and go traveling. I mean, in fact, I just found there was a couple I was going to ask you. I said, have you ever thought about doing like, where was that one I was just looking at? Down here in the, see if I can find it. It was down here in one of the related areas. I was going to say, I'll have to find out. I'll have to try to find it again and ask you later, Richard. It was one that maybe, I'm not sure if you had ever come across or if it, because I mean, there's a couple of trail scenes that I wouldn't like, the old Spanish trail from California to New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Pony Express. That's what I was going to ask you about.
Pony Express.
I was going to ask
I would love to follow the old trail from what is it, from Missouri all the way to California on the Pony Trail Express.
Pony Express Trail. The Oregon Trail.
With Sacagawea, can you still take that tour that took them all the way to the Pacific Ocean? Can you still take the actual route that they took? That Sacagawea took?
Oh.
From where?
Was that still Lewis and Clark?
Yeah, them. Yeah.
It might be. You might be able to, yeah.
Yeah, that.
Oh, no.
I think they have a map you can follow, but it's not all state park. If it's on a river, you won't find it. You'll find houses next to it.
Okay. So. Oh, darn. I was hoping. Well, it's all right.
There is a hiking trail that leads from the Rockies over here all the way down to California.
My goodness. How long does it take?
That's a big one. That's the usually I've seen people do it in about a month.
Wow. That's cool.
Maybe a little bit less, not much. They made a few movies off of it.
Cool.
Going on that trail.
Cool.
And it's very soul searching. You know, being by no one for that long. There's no cities that you pass through. There's no roads that pass by you.
Right.
It's just trail.
So, I don't know. So that right there tells you that there are so many. This is why, to me, sometimes just to get in the car and just drive somewhere, even you know, I mean, no matter where you live, you're going to find some type of a national park. And I'll even go as far, even a great state park. Because you know, we have Bell Island, which is being redone over the years. Because it used to be Belle Isle when it was created for Michigan was an awesome island park. Well, over the years, as Detroit deteriorated, so did the island. But now that Detroit's getting a rebirth and regrowing again and reestablishing this, so is the Isle, which is a nice park. So, I mean, no matter whether you want to find a national park or a state park, there are some nice parks around you, no matter what state you live in.
Yep.
So I encourage you not only to check out maybe the National Park Service at .gov, NPS.gov, But go to your state, wherever you live.
Yeah.
They got to have a website for all your state parks somewhere in the government system in there for the state. I encourage you to check them out. I mean, what do you guys think?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to do and so much to learn. I mean, that's really amazing.
I mean, not so much New Jersey. Sorry, Mike. You're just a small itty bitty, thing. But I'm just picking on you because it is. I mean, you look at the states around you.
Yes.
They have more of the parks than the things.
Washington capital. You got to remember that.
Yes, Philadelphia was originally going to be the national capital of this country.
Before Washington, D.C.
Moved in 1800
was even thought of.
Until 1800 when it was moved to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
They kept all the older buildings, though.
Yes, and they're still intact.
Still intact. They still have flowers around them.
When they were used.
Beautiful.
Hey, and that's awesome. But, I mean, but like Washington.
That's the history.
Here's the thing.
It is.
But you look at Washington, you look at Florida. I mean, Florida has its state's parks, but it's also the national part of it, an interesting national heritage. But a lot of it has to do with its beaches and its state parks. You look at the state of Washington. You've got the Rockies. You've got you've got the national parks there. You got a lot. I mean, you got the Space Needle in Seattle.
Yep.
Right.
I mean,
there's a lot.
And don't get me wrong, New Jersey has its stuff to offer too.
We do.
Every state does.
Well, let's face it. New Jersey played a part in the revolution, so we'll give it a little credit.
And believe it or not, I know
parks as well.
Where Ulysses S. Grant was when that whole thing happened. I know exactly where it is.
Yes, he was up there.
He was in New Jersey, believe it or not.
Yes, he was.
In New Jersey.
He was.
And I know where the house is.
Okay.
I know specifically where the house is in New Jersey.
I believe that's a public national register by now.
I think that house is on the national register.
Probably.
It is. And believe it or not, I know exactly where it is, and I know how to get there easily. Yep.
But I don't know. Anything you guys want to add or say, or I mean,
go visit a park.
Go visit a park. May it be wherever you're at. So
exactly.
I mean,
go visit a park, visit a monument. Go for it.
What do you guys think? You think we'll get some nice topics out of? We got so many parks. We'll get some nice topics out of this show.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have enough to go on for like a year.
Yeah, a year. Good, great. With this, we don't even have to go. We don't even have to go to the state parks, and you got more than enough for a year.
Right,
got enough for 2 years.
So maybe I might think about, hopping over for like 30 minutes and driving up to Olympic National Forest. Show off a little bit of it while we're talking about it.
I may want to get on a boat.
They do not have that much reception.
Actually, what I was gonna do is one of these days I may go over to the Lookout. Not so much the Steel States.
Look at your roads.
But there's walking. There are walking trails. But then there's the National Lookout. It's the lookout for the south end of St. Augustine of Manteca Bay. And that's what, obviously that's the way the Spanish did it. They put lookouts on the southern part and the northern part of their of their forts.
Now, if I'm driving to the middle of Washington State, which is basically the desert, we've already passed by the mountains by then.
Wow.
The mountains do not split it in half. It's like maybe 10% compared to 90%. There's more room on the 90%, but there's less people living over there. because of Seattle.
Right.
So
Probably.
over on the eastern part of Washington State, we also have the National Petrified Forest.
Really?
Over here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's Washington State.
Nice.
Right by Spokane.
Cool.
There you go. So there you guys go.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys. I think it was pretty good today. I think we about covered all the.
Yes.
I think it was a good introduction to the national park.
Covered all we
Absolutely.
can.
And kind of gave a good overview of what a lot of things that we'll be getting into on the park.
Yes.
Not just, not just battlefields and national historical, but I'm talking, we're talking national parks for camping, beautiful sites,
hiking, there's lakes. There's thousands of things you can do out in the open.
Absolutely. There's tons you can do in a national park.
Exactly. River water rafting, whitewater rafting, kayaking,
tours.
If you're
Mount Rainier, that's Seattle also. That's Washington State also is Mount Rainier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the U.S.'s active volcanoes. It's an active volcano. Put it that way.
Oh wow.
In Washington State.
Wait a minute. How far are you from? Wait a minute. How far are you from Mount St. Helens?
Not that far. We see it sometimes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I believe that's Washington State, but yeah.
Yes, I believe it is.
So there you
Mount
go.
St. Helens.
Mm-hmm. The famous one.
We could probably talk about that sometime, Dave. How it exploded and then have out of those news articles that
I remember that
smoke went everywhere in the U.S. Everywhere in the Western U.S.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
I don't think we did any of that.
That made for an interesting.
That was news, all right.
That made for an interesting year.
Yeah.
Even we were surprised.
It was bad enough that
we were surprised that it even reached Michigan.
They seen Mount St. Helen ash at Disneyland area. It was
Wait
not
a minute.
there yet, but
you mean to tell me it went from all the way up there, all the way to Disneyland?
Yeah,
it went through California,
all the way over across the country.
Went halfway across the country. I believe some people saw the smoke, not the ash on the ground.
I don't think
we saw the smoke all the way to Chicago.
Chicago. Wow.
Chicago. Think how big that is.
I will tell you that year, Michigan actually, you could see a little bit of the smoke. I mean, it was more dense because the farther it travels, the less dense, but you could actually smell it. And
I don't think we did in New Jersey, I don't think.
Put it this way, it was bad enough. The air quality for the Washington State itself
was bad.
It went from usually we're the highest, one of the highest because we have so many trees. We're at usually 80 to 90% air quality. Really good. It dropped all the way down to -2.
Oh my gosh!
It went past under the regulated. Regulated, you're allowed to breathe in. So
my goodness,
people were wearing masks. Trying to keep indoors for basically 3 to 4 months. That it was still going.
Amazing.
So. That's a story from my grandma, by the way. She was there. Yeah, I was not.
She saw it?
She was there. It happened right around her.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
this happened
in the 80s, if I remember, and I was just a kid.
Yep. I was 83. I was born.
A teenager.
So.
I remember.
I was 81. So
yeah, she was older, but she was still there. My mom would have remembered.
I remember hearing about that. I was only about 11 or 12 when that actually happened.
Yeah.
What year did it actually happen?
I don't remember.
Anybody
I'd have to look. It was sometime.
I'll look it up.
I remember it was in the 80s, but I can't remember exactly when.
I think it was the 80s, but it could have been 79.
Yeah.
Right there.
1980. I wasn't even born.
There you go. Yep.
I wasn't born yet.
I wasn't even born, so I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember how.
My sister will remember it. My sister was born in 1975, so.
Oh, she would have been old enough to remember it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You might remember it. Yeah. She would have been really young, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in
I don't
school.
know about you guys, but how do you guys feel about the show? I'm looking forward to a lot of good topics on the parks.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, we come from different parts, so we've all been to the different parks and come from aspects. And I'm loving it. So, all right. Final thoughts, guys. We'll start with Mike, and then with the final thoughts, Richard. When it gets to you, go ahead and let everybody know what you got coming up as well on your channel.
Yeah.
Final thoughts from you, Mike.
All right. I would say that this is going to be a really good series. Yeah. And I cannot wait to show you guys my part of this country.
Yep.
And in more ways than one. Yeah.
Yep. I can't wait.
Me too.
It's gonna be fun.
How about you, Richard?
I can't wait for this to happen. This is going to be exciting to talk about the national parks and outlying areas, I guess you can call it.
Yep.
Vaguely national parks. Also, just keep up with our channel, and then we'll be posting regular things also.
What do you got coming up on your park and eats and
we don't know regulated beforehand when the park.
We don't know yet. We usually know when a menu comes out, and
when a menu comes out, exactly we are trying to be on it. But
right. A new menu came out for McDonald's. Here you go. There's your next topic.
Talk about McDonald's. There was a new sauce I seen that ours around here has.
Yes, actually, they came out with a spicy sauce. People are loving it.
I tried it.
They actually are liking it.
I don't know it's a little tangy. But it's not my cup of tea, but I see where they're going. So,
well, yeah, the people I've talked to, the people that I like, they like stuff spicy. So,
yeah, they do.
They seem to like it.
It was interesting. I'm like, hey,
Chipotle Ranch is one of my favorites.
Let's just talk about McDonald's on a national park show.
No. Well, yeah, but you think about it.
Yeah.
We will be. I can guarantee you, even when we talk about national parks, we'll be talking about, food somewhere along the way because
you're right.
Talking about preparing to bring food if you're camping out, what you do, how do you cook it.
That's an idea.
Or explain about
maybe the parks that have
and how do you talk
really
about
restaurants,
different types of
you know what?
Known big restaurants that are on parks.
Right. Around the areas because there's some parks that have the lodgings, so they're going to have some type of thing. Yep. So somewhere along the way, we will talk food on this show as well.
Sure.
I'm already expecting.
Well, I'll put that in there. Maybe I'll just start eating some broccoli while I'm on this stream.
Why not? Hey. I'll bring out the Hostess cupcakes. I'm looking for the.
Oh, come on! You have to eat some kind of vegetable. It has to be something you would get from the parks.
Hey, I worked out again this morning, so I'm good.
Oh gosh.
In fact, now I'm about to go grab a salad to finish my lunch.
Okay.
Oh boy. Protein shake.
Anyway, but seriously, guys, please don't forget to watch this. I'll need to do me a favor. One thing, Mike, make sure you check with me to make sure I put a thumbnail out tomorrow to remind them that the recorded show is coming out tomorrow afternoon.
I'll do that.
I plan on or coming out on Monday.
Okay.
But I will put out thumbnail be either tomorrow or Sunday, so people know. So, but other than that, I'm looking forward to this show. I'm looking forward to talking about the different parks. And I'm actually looking forward that, whether it's me, Mike or Richard, it would be nice if we could get, if one of us could actually be at a park
Yes,
Yes.
I'm planning on doing that.
Be nice
and
too.
stream it while we're doing the show. That would be a kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I know it costs, Mike, but what if you try to go to Ellis Island and just look
I already
around?
want to do that anyway. I want to go to Ellis
Why not?
Island. I want to go to Statue of Liberty. I have a ton of places I want to go in New York.
By the way, the Statue of Liberty, yes, it has a big, huge, tall building, but there's also a museum right next to it.
Yes, and I'm going to be buying souvenirs, like I always do.
Souvenirs and then museum part too.
Yes. The museum part, I'm actually looking forward to it because I will say
there's a lot of things on there. It talks about the history of that area.
And also,
New York.
I can actually show you guys how our ancestors came into this country.
Yep, they have a huge.
About your ancestors. My ancestors came through the Williamstown on the Mayflower.
Some have gone through Ellis Island.
No, actually,
some of mine came that way. But a lot of mine came in through
Mayflower.
New York as well as Philadelphia.
Well, it would matter if you're from the Mayflower or not.
Right.
It all comes down to what your family heritage is.
Absolutely. But
it's different.